Welcome, everyone. We got about 26 folks here. We'll be starting in a minute. Anand, are you there?
I am, yes. Can you hear me okay?
All right, perfect. Yep, you look great. Where are you in the world right now?
In my cottage in Buckinghamshire, in just west of London, about 45 minutes west of London.
Very cool. That sounds just the name Buckinghamshire sounds like it's like you live at a castle,
That's
something like
right.
that.
This cottage is 17th century, so it's old.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, you sound good. Or can you try talking? I know you're a different sound setup, but.
Yeah, is that right, volume-wise?
Sounds
No,
good
well,
to me. How does it sound to others? Give a thumbs up or say too quiet, too loud. All right. Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right. So, I'm not going to do a full introduction since you guys already know Anand. This is class number 2 of Augmented Awakening. And, I'll just say really fast that as I continue to dive deeper into AI, and as even just in the past month, so much has changed. OpenAI released OpenAI Deep Research, an operator agent, R1 spread throughout the world. There's an announcement of a $5 billion, investment in infrastructure from OpenAI. I think Google and Microsoft said they're each investing like $80 billion in the next year in their infrastructure. So it's weird, but like that it's happening, that it's progressing so quickly. And as I personally reflect on it more, that we're moving to this world where AI in the next 2 to 3 years can potentially do everything that a human could do on a computer, but just faster. It, uh, it, I realized that one of the most important things, the enduring thing, is the psychology of how we meet this period of really rapid change. And so I think this course is particularly really important. And I'm not sure that I haven't come across other courses really approaching AI from this angle. So I'm personally excited to for the class and for Anand, just for those, we'll say this again at the end, but he has a free coaching club session coming up on February 22nd. Looks like the next one is. So I recommend putting that in your calendar if you like today's session. Want to access that, you can go there. And also, let's see. Anand has been very, very active on Substack and written a lot of really good articles. So I'd recommend just right now, real quick, go in there, put in your email. And with that, I'm going to give it over to you, Anand. And also just thank you so much, Anand, for just doing this session. It's pretty amazing that he's doing an entire course for paid subscribers here. So thank you so much for doing that, Anand.
right, very welcome. It's a fun topic. I want to share it with people who are interested in these matters, and specifically taking it from a slightly different angle. So, as Michael has mentioned on a couple of his programs, that there's standard uses of AI that you can get out there. There's prompts available for classic use cases. And we're taking a slightly different angle or approach here, I hope, which is how do we use AI um, for our own growth and development? What are the insights? Two angles. One is how can we use it, and we'll do a couple of examples of that today with prompts for our own awakening, and also how can we learn from the frames and perspectives that we are going through as we relate to AI. The concept that, oh, this is a prompt. You put it in and then the machine responds a certain way. It's not a search engine. But this is not dissimilar to human beings. If you treat people well, they come back to you well. If you treat them badly, they don't respond so well, unless they're Buddhist monks, I suppose. Right. So take a moment, put your feet on the ground, and just attend to your current state. You might think of your current state as the setup of your own neural net, and dependent on how you prime yourself, depends on what comes out. There's not stuff in there in some kind of static library. And so the more centered, grounded, connected, present you are, and two things. One is open-mindedness in a healthy way. I heard this phrase, it's good to be open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brains fall out. So getting that nice balance of openness with healthy assessment, discernment of what's going on in your experience. And then permission. And permission is not permission to me, but permission to your own consciousness, your own nervous system, your own wisdom. The possibility of transformation and change is available in every moment. And so being open to that possibility. All right, when you're ready, gently open your eyes. All right, so the month one, we looked at going meta, which is how can we kind of take a zoom out, which is kind of what we're doing here in terms of, well, how else can we use AI rather than the classic standard ways that people are discovering, of course, more and more use cases as we go on with this progression. Now, can I share what we did on month one? We looked at going meta, and the reason for that, this is zooming out and looking at what we were previously immersed in. And the reason for that is kind of key developmental move, as it's called, which is in this bit convoluted statement, the subject of one level of development becomes the object of the subject of the next level of development. Essentially, what that means is if we're immersed in something, so we think we are the subject, that comes in front of us and becomes the object. And now I'm looking at it and I'm the next level of development, this subject that can look at this, what I was previously lost in, immersed in, embedded in, that kind of thing, right? So it's a zooming out move. And in Zen, there's a phrase, we're talking about augmented awakening, called the backward step, where you step out of everything, right? And the question is, well, where do you go if you step out of everything? Did you notice that in the Matrix, when they stepped out of the Matrix, they moved into quote unquote the real world, but at the end of in that film, at the end of the second movie, Neo is now able to have superpowers in the quote unquote real world, which shouldn't be happening in theory, right? Until he steps out of all of it. Right? So the phrase in Zen is, well, actually in a lot of spiritual traditions, which is the eye cannot see itself. So your absolute subjectivity, you're experiencing this world, the you that's experiencing, you can't really sneak out and take a look at it because that's just another object in your awareness. Right. So, excuse me, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at playing with patterns. How do we play with patterns, interrupt patterns, and also look at how we can use AI in a couple of different creative ways. But the first thing is to go, well, okay, how can we get AI to behave in ways that it doesn't normally behave, basically, right? So let's have a look at this. I wrote my own over 100 pages of personality and behavior profiling and analyzed it with AI. So this is something we can do. We can take our own writing, we can put it into AI. We can go, okay, what are the patterns here? And then what are the classic old therapy question, what are you not thinking about? Right, which is like a kind of a slightly strange question to ask. Right, so put in the chat right now, when you think about your kind of standard use cases of AI, what's your most kind of far out, wacky, probably no one else has done that, kind of the thing you're really proud of, basically, right? Your own explorations in pushing forward the boundaries of what we can do with large language models. Let's have a look at what people put. AI parenting clone. Yeah. Whether AI is really conscious or not is irrelevant. Yeah. We treat it as a friend, if only for the results. Taking Michael's suggestion that AI is a consciousness and beginning to develop a personal relationship through it. Yeah. I'm thinking a lot about a new paradigm of prompting that I call infinite prompting. Who's that? Oh, that's Michael, of course. Okay. Where I create a prompt that can infinitely recursively re act recursively on itself, hopefully not curse itself, um, and create more and more interesting, novel, and important insights. Notice this going meta thing. Right? I was zooming out. Nothing too weird. Using chat to make and track business plans. Excellent. So we want to keep all of the standard uses rather than doing the really wacky stuff. The purpose of this today is to disrupt in a good way health, the very nature of how we look at patterns and patterning. Okay, so looking for different ways to understand how people see AI. Brilliant. A collaboration partner that can explore and expand ideas with me. So my hope is that today is a bit of a stretch. There's the phrase, I can't remember who said it, a mind once stretched never goes back to its previous limitations. Right. So AI psychedelic enhanced therapy assistance. Ooh, okay. Asking chat to build out a path to create. Did I miss one? I might have missed a couple. Um, uh, asking chat to build out a path to create a top tier health and fitness company, uh, and they having AI provide the breakdown. Now, this. So if you think about this, this is now something that's possible to do with AI that potentially wasn't possible before, right? So the very fact that this thing exists, the stretch, thanks, Matt, is going, what can I do with this technology in new areas, in new ways, in new, and sometimes what it is that there's a problem that hasn't been solved, and new applications of AI then can solve those problems. The classic one, Veritasium, is a YouTube channel, and recently they just did he did one on AlphaFold, which is about protein folding. It was incredibly difficult to figure out if you've got this long string, which is a protein, how it's going to kind of clump together and snap together and make this shape that actually does something in the world. So the guys won, I think, won the Nobel Prize last year. One was for they went from, we can work out how 10 proteins fold, then 100, then 200. I think it was called it's CASP, I think it is, about protein folding. And then all of a sudden there's this jump change and they go from 150,000 to working out how 200 million proteins fold, i.e. all of them, right? And then from there, how do we make protein? This is getting into dangerous stuff, of course, right? How do we make proteins to do whatever we want? Like, I mean, it looked like they made a protein in the shape of like a studio lamp. It's like you kind of print at the level of um, amino acids. Okay, conversation with Claude about different philosophies. Now, when you do things like that, what's really nice is that your capacity to evolve your own philosophies and your understanding of philosophies is changing. You're changing your own neuron. Is that right, Gordon? Your own neurons are changing when you're interacting in this way, right? So this is interesting to me. How is using the machine changing us? And how can we use it to evolve us in more effective ways? Okay, and quite a few. I'm really glad there's loads. Right, it's too many for that. Okay. So let me give you a couple of examples. Um, just to stretch at an angle that isn't quite how people, I think most people would be using it. So how many, excuse me a sec.
While Anand's taking and coughing, I think I was going to say I'm just loving how everyone's using it. Some of them are making me laugh. Tobias, I loved yours of making an AI twin of my son to better argue with him. I should do that for my 16-year-old daughter. Um, Interacting with conscious kindness gives us the best outcome. So just wanted to say it's cool reading everyone's posts, and feel free to share. I'm reading every one, and I'm just curious. So feel free to share more on that as well. All right, back to you.
Okay. Talk about interrupting patterns. I was halfway through a sentence, just walked off. There you go. All right. So actually, I knew somebody who it was the weirdest thing. Has everyone been in a conversation they want to go leave and they just stand there and they're polite, right? I knew somebody who literally would walk off in the middle of a sentence when someone else was talking to him. It's like, oh, I'm bored now. I mean, he was at the very low end of the empathy scale, let's just say. All right. So how many people have heard of, are you looking at the right screen, Tozan's five ranks? Yeah. Okay, how many people have heard of Tozan's five ranks? Nobody. All right, anybody? Let's have a look. No, no, no. Oh, one person? No? Okay. All right. So a piece of esoteric writing from, if you can look it up, Michael, probably a few hundred years ago. And it was about the path of awakening, right? So um, things we're looking at augmented awakening. And by awakening, let's just for now call it progressive iterations of being able to step out the frame that you're lost in, or not lost in, immersed in, let's just say, or identified with. Okay. So Tozan kind of mapped out this kind of progression, and his five ranks went according to this, right? So it's a progression from initial awakening, right? So has everyone had the experience during their life where they've suddenly seen a pattern they've been doing for years, and it was there to see, but they couldn't see it before. Does that make sense? Like they had an epiphany or a realization about something in your life that was kind of always true, but you didn't notice it until a certain point. Yeah. Let's just see. Everyone had that kind of experience? Yeah. Looking slightly blankly. All right, I'll continue and we'll come back to that. Okay, so this initial awakening, this kind of zooming out, is going beyond a mere understanding of so what's called emptiness in Buddhism, and it's a simple idea. It's not empty as in in the West when we think of a cup is empty. It's no inherent essence. I'll give you an example. Think about a whirlpool, right? A whirlpool is not an object, right? In the sense that you can point to it, but what you're pointing to is the description of flow. So water is flowing, and the way you can tell it's not an object in an absolute sense, you can't put it back, you can't pick it up, put it on the back of a truck, right? It exists as a description of something happening, of a process, right? And we use language like that. We all do this, right? Even saying yourself as an object, but actually what you are processes, continuous processes of thought and feeling and physiology and right. And so as we move more and more to this kind of sense of process, we start to see there's nothing can die, right? Because it's, things are just constantly changing and transforming. The Greek phrase, never step in the same river twice, right? So